Welcome back to another episode of the Hoopers Almanac. We are starting our end of season or not recap, but just talking about every team in the NBA up until the last week of the season. And so each of us are going to talk about the two teams. We drafted teams a few weeks ago on the pod, and now we're just going to talk. Each of us are going to talk about two of the teams that we watched this past week. I think all four of our teams we actually watched yesterday, and just kind of talk about those four teams and what we kind of think of them as of the game yesterday, but also just big picture wise what we think of them as well. We're going to talk about the Knicks. The New York Knicks. We're going to talk about the Detroit Pistons, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Memphis Grizzlies, who all played. Three of them played in nationally televised games, and two of them played in really close games. So it'll be fun to talk about. But before we get going, let's bring in our friends from Green Top. We are back, and I think this is the first time I've brought it out on the pod. I'm wearing this new Celtics quarter zip polo in after the win yesterday against the Knicks.
I was going to bring that up. That is sharp. I
feel like I'm a part of the Celtics coaching staff. I should be second row Mitch. Should be no, it was a Christmas gift from this past holiday season, and so
can we get a closer look? Can we drop the mic and see, get a little closer?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there we go. There it is.
Lovely. It's like kind of thermal. It's very nice. It does the job, and it's very comfy. I very much enjoy it. But it's because I wanted to wear it as we talk about the Knicks and how the Celtics might be just their daddy after last night's game. But we'll wait to get into that. Adam, how are you, my man? It's been a basketball filled weekend for you.
Big time.
Which that's also what we're going to talk about. We're going to end the pod by talking about some San Antonio high school basketball.
No, it's been a very, very enjoyable weekend. Our teams are still in the playoffs, and we got state games coming up, which I'll kind of go into more detail, at the end once we talk about the NBA a bit. But really fun. Saturday was a really fun day. It was really cool. So
a lot of driving around for you. A lot of driving around all of Austin, wasn't it?
South and Central Texas. Yes. So,
jeez.
We got to keeping the train rolling for another week. So, very fun. But we'll explain again at the end of the podcast.
I love it, my man. Well, like I said, we're gonna talk. We're gonna start getting into like our end of year thoughts about some different teams, especially this week we're gonna talk about four teams that are, whether they're in the playoffs firmly or they're going to be hunting for the playoffs, or just hunting for different seeds in the playoffs. And I'm interested just as we get into these different teams, especially like the two East teams, because I think that'd be a fun playoff matchup, the Pistons versus the Knicks, which we'll get into it a little bit. But let's start with the New York Knicks, who was the first game that was on yesterday. The Knicks played the Celtics in what was anticipated to be a really fun game, which has been an anticipated matchup all year. Like the Knicks built a team that was supposed to be defensively competitive with the Celtics to guard their wings. And it was at one point a 27-point game that the Celtics were winning. They would go on to win 118-105. But Adam, this is your team. I kind of want you to take the lead on this here. What has it? I mean, when you watch this Knicks team, what stands out to you the most?
Yeah, I mean, they're such a weird bunch because I think their starting five has actually played a lot. They haven't missed a ton of games, and then they play a lot. They just on the floor. Yeah, they play a lot. There was that crazy stat that they flashed up during the Cleveland game, which I watched. The majority of that as well. At least the competitive portion, which wasn't long. That game on Friday night in Cleveland, and I think Cleveland is 28th in the league in starters minutes per game. And have the best record in the league, and the Knicks have play the most. Their starters play the most minutes of anyone in the league, so they're number one in terms of starters minutes. And it was a pretty big gap. It was 20. It was 29 minutes, for each Cavs starter, and it's 36 for each Knicks starter. So obviously that's a huge gap. So the chemistry amongst the starting five is very good. Offensively, they're third in offensive efficiency in the league. Karl-Anthony Towns opened up a bunch of space for them, driving lanes, things like that. That looks good. But their defense is what has fallen off, from the last couple of years under Tibbs. So that was kind of the thing that jumped out. These were a tough 2 games to watch. I ended up, obviously getting a couple here. Ended up both being national televised games, so I didn't have to do the league pass thing. But yeah, I mean, just brutal. They're now 0-7 against the other top 3 teams in the league, and yeah, it's like they're type of team that's built to beat all the teams they should, and then when it kind of comes to like having the depth to kind of be able to hang with your Celtics and your Thunder and your Cavs, they just can't do it. So I do think their pace is part of the issue. They played a pretty slow pace, 24th in the league in pace, and so we're going to try to give out a little bit of those kind of numbers for each team. And the Knicks, they're sitting there, they're 37-20, third in the East. They've had a good season. They have a really good starting five. But it's like, man, you got a couple juggernauts in your conference now. So it used to just be one, Celtics, but the Cavs have entered that tier. So I don't see how they beat either one of those in the series. I think they're second round and out. Plus, they're going to be stuck in the 3 spot.
It seems like they will be. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I can get up, and no one's really going to catch them either. So they're probably going to be stuck in that 3 spot.
0-7 against the Celtics, Cavs, and Thunder. That's the stat that's been beaten up all day, or just even yesterday, if you were on Twitter or anything. Worldwide Wob, I don't think I've ever seen him more sad after a game on Twitter, just watching him just talk for 9.5 minutes about this next team, because he said the exact same thing. Basically, he's like, we can beat everyone up until these 3 teams, and it's until then we are so good. But I mean, what, 7 of their 20? What was it? Did you say they're 31-20? No, I can't do math.
37-20.
37-20. Almost over a third of their losses are just to those 3 teams, and no wins against them. So it's just tough. But
they're beating the teams they're supposed to, and they struggle against the elite.
Yeah. The other thing is their team relies so much on that duo of Brunson and Cat on offense. It was like yesterday, especially like in the first half, you're watching it and you're like, okay, I feel like I need more Miles Bridges. I need more Anunoby, something. I got these guys to like be out there to help them when Brunson's cold, and Cat didn't have a point until the second quarter. It was rough to watch. And so the offense has been great, but it's because of how well these two can work together. Mm-hmm. And it's become so self-reliant that Tibbs has to play them crazy amounts of minutes. So like yesterday, Cat hurt. Let's like not let that fall either. Like he got hurt at the end of the game, and they got put back in the game,
and they were down like 40. When he got hurt, it was
he played 41 minutes yesterday. He sat out, I think, 2 minutes up until he got hurt, or 2 or 3 minutes up until he like got hurt, and then he was sat out for 3 or 4 more minutes, and then he was done. He was just out there the rest of the game. So. And then Brunson plays 38. Josh Hart is the minute man, and he played 40 yesterday. But there's
they were both questionable, to be fair, going into that Celtics game.
Sure,
Josh Hart and OG Anunoby, and they both played, so they're probably not at totally 100%. So it's maybe not the very best games to judge them by. But
Hart did have 20, 11, and 9.
Yeah, I mean Hart played well though. Yeah, but it's like I just need to kind of judge the team. But it's like I don't know. Like you're available, you're playing, and they just can't quite get it done against these elite teams. I do think their offense can get pretty predictable. In those moments. And it's like it's very station to station. It's like they're still playing a little bit of checkers at times offensively, where Boston, Cleveland, these kind of 5-out space that just move it. Like they're playing a little more chess and just kind of reading and reacting. And the Knicks will do that for like stretches, but it doesn't. It still is ultimately reliant on that pick and roll with which is very effective, obviously, but with Towns and Brunson. But Brunson had a stretch yesterday. We kind of got him back in the game a bit, but it just never was really in doubt, And it seemed like the Celtics kind of had to answer for everything that the Knicks could throw at them.
You're right. It is a very predictable offense, especially down the stretch. It reminds me of like the 21 Celtics when it was just like, hey, let's get the ball to Jason Tatum and let him just stand at the top of the key and see what he can do.
Yeah.
It's very reminiscent of like the 2018-19 Rockets. It's saying, hey, James Harden run a pick and roll, and you'll probably spray it out to some guy in the corner or on the wing for a 3. So I totally agree. It is a very predictable offense, And yeah, it does not resemble a Tibbs team at all with how like poor they are on defense. And that's what also is just like mind
Yeah.
boggling to me.
Yeah.
So you talked about it a little bit. Do you think they're a second round and out team? So like
I do, because I mean Cleveland is pretty much going to lock up the 1 seed. I think that there's a little too
yeah,
much of a gap. I mean, our 1, 2, 3 is probably set in the East. I think the rest of it could kind of see some shake up, but
yeah.
I don't really see that move. There's not enough time in the season for there to be that big of swings. So I think that's your 1, 2, 3. That's a great get for Cleveland. In fact, they'll only have to play one of those two teams. That's huge. So I think we are on a collision course for a Boston and Cleveland conference finals.
I agree. And I'll say this. The team we'll talk about next, and I think the Pistons are no easy shake for the Knicks in the first place.
No, that'll be a tough series. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that is again like there's three teams like within a game difference of each other in Indiana, Milwaukee, and Detroit. So it
That's
could
where
just
there could be some changes. Yeah, for sure.
right, yeah. So or just with whatever the heck comes out of the play in, like Brooklyn, Brooklyn could be the 10 seed and make it as the 8 seed at this point. I wouldn't be shocked.
I think the question I would just ask, like for the Knicks, like the last like part of the season is they also just like they lack a little bit of punch offensively off the bench, and so it's like, is there anyone that's gonna? I mean, Campaign, made a couple shots yesterday, but is there anyone that can kind of come in? Like they need like a Lou Will type, just to kind of take like the But I don't see that on the roster. I mean, it's just that was that was DiVincenzo last year, and he obviously finished a lot of games, but I don't know. I just don't see that coming. And then it's like, well, if you're not going to have that guy that provides an offensive punch, well, maybe we have like a couple lockdown defenders coming off the bench, and that's not really happening either. So it does feel like they're a piece away from like really being a contender. Like maybe next year, maybe one more guy, a couple little bench players. I think what we're seeing in the NBA this year is depth is just huge. I mean, if you don't have depth, you're going to get exposed. And I think these very best teams, they're able to just throw wave upon wave in different types of lineups, and the Knicks are a little bit limited in what they can do.
The Knicks. Here's the other thing. They're just undersized as a whole. Like, Josh Hart plays bigger than he is, but he's a 6'4", 6'5" forward.
Yeah.
And they don't have, outside of Achua, who I don't even know what to call him. He's probably like a power forward, small ball 5. But I mean, whenever Robinson comes back, Mitch Robinson comes back, I'm not going to put Robinson and Achua out there at the same time because I don't trust Achua to shoot all that much. They just lack wings. They have guards in McBride and Payne. McBride gets a lot of like the playing time. He just didn't make much yesterday. Shamet they picked up for a bunch of sunflower seeds, and he's been solid, but like in some games, but like not good enough defensively, and and sometimes just not efficient enough. You get the. I'm going to quote John Wissmiller here. Campaign ignites the second unit, energizes the second unit like no other. But sometimes that man is also just a cold streak waiting to happen. So I can't do it with him sometimes. So you're absolutely right. The depth is what's going to kill them. The depth is what's going to just bring them down to the depths, and I think that's what's going to stop them. That's the difference between the Cavs, the Celtics, heck, even like the Pacers. That's what killed the last year in the playoffs was they only played 6 guys in the playoffs, and so I'm interested to see what they roll out come playoff time. If they might only roll out 6-7 guys every game,
very possible, very possible. And that'll be fine for a series, but then when you get up to Boston, that's not enough.
There was so much hope in this Knicks team, like. There was, and it's not like we weren't thinking, hey, they could be a top 3 seed. We already thought they were going to be a top 3 seed. It was going to be probably the Celtics and them, and we didn't know who the heck the third team was going to be at the beginning of the year. Didn't think the Cavs were going to be this great. They proved us a little bit. I mean, they've been insanely good this year. And so I don't want to say it's like a disappointment for them to be a 3 seed. It's just a disappointment of what we've seen them come to be, like on both sides of the ball. Like their offense has been phenomenal when it's against not the top 3 teams. Their defense is just what's the thing that's disappointing.
Yeah. So, got to improve if they want to make a real run at this. But who was your first team?
Pistons, and the
Detroit
team that
Pistons. Could be their first round matchup.
Right, and so we start with the Pistons, and so they played the Hawks yesterday. In what was a 148 to 143 game.
Crazy.
Talk about high scoring offenses. But to me, this game was perfect for me to watch because one, I got to see the spectacularness that is Cade Cunningham, 38, 7, and 12, on 14 to 24, on 7 of 10 from three. I'm also like got the Pistons playing the Clippers right now. It's on in my background right now, and they're beating the Clippers by 12 as we start the fourth quarter. I also got to see the addition of Dennis Schroeder, which I think he's the perfect backup point for Cade / the like can be still off ball for Cade whenever it's necessary. I love that Hardaway and Malik Beasley just basically play off each other or just like replace each other, and it's just the same guy, it feels like, on the court. Malik Beasley is also, I'm going to try to remember I get the stat right. He is on pace to be the second player in NBA history to shoot over 45% and make 200 threes in a season. The only other guy to do it was Steph, and he's done it 6 times.
And he even did that in the 403 season, which is
right. And maybe, you know what? I think it might have been 300. Yeah. I think it might have been 300 and not 200. I feel like 200 is a little low. But Malik Beasley is having an incredible year, and he's been an important bench guy for them. But I like Duren. Big Stu, Isaiah Stewart is the perfect like muck it up guy that every rising team needs. Like without a doubt, every team that's like starting to get better, you just need that one guy who's got a little bit of an issue, and you don't know what it is. Or like just like he's just a little rough around the edges, and I love him. And then they had some young guys. Like they got Sar Thompson. They got Ron Holland, who's been fun to watch in his playing time. They have so many weird pieces. The issue for me is they are, like the Knicks, very predictable. Like it's Cade Cunningham with Ivy being out, and for the rest of I think he's out for the rest of the year. But with
I think there's a little hope that he may come back. But it's there's a chance that he's done for the year. But
little hope.
That was obviously that really hard, like that really awkward fall. Who was it that dove into him?
Was it not?
It was Cole Anthony.
Yes. So this was as of February 6th. He is going to be. He just transitioned into a walking boot, and will get reevaluated in 4 weeks. So let me do the math here. That's the beginning of March.
Yeah, so there's a possibility.
Okay. Yeah. And right before the playoffs. I like that.
That would help. No, the guy that stood out to me, because so Detroit played the Spurs on Friday night in Austin, and Jalen Duren just physically just was like, an absolute handful. Just Spurs couldn't do anything with him. I mean, the lob threat. I mean, there's just so many. The rebounding. I mean, he is impressive, man. He is. And Cade just has the game. He's just like controlled the entire Spurs game. I mean, that was never really a close game. They just kind of ran the Spurs out of the gym, which the Spurs had won the night before without Wemby against the miserable Phoenix Suns. But still, I mean, the Detroit came in and just kind of laid the smackdown. So no, that's a really fun team that I actually wish I would have drafted, because I wanted to have an excuse to kind of watch them a little bit more. But
that's why I'm watching them more.
Yeah. No, that's that's like kind of job number one. When our season ends, I can finally kind of focus on a little bit more NBA stuff. I'm going to kind of watch some more Pistons. But they've been fantastic. It's like a really cool story. I'm really happy for them.
I texted in our group chat. I don't think anyone's ever said I'm excited to talk about the Detroit Pistons tonight since like probably 2008.
Yeah. I think you said that. It was like 2007, and I was like honestly, that's probably true. I was like, they had the little playoff run in 08, and it was like, that's it since then. I mean,
was it like the Rodney Stuckey,
and then Blake Griffin led him to the playoffs in 2019, and he was amazing that year. But then got hurt, didn't play in the playoffs, so I played like one game of that series. But and that's it. I mean, they haven't made the playoffs since then. So it's been a 6-year drought. So cool to see them back in. Yeah,
I'm very excited, and as a Celtics fan, you're supposed to hate the Pistons just because of the bad boys in the late '80s, but I enjoy watching this Pistons team.
I do too.
And it's because of Cade. It's because of Cade. 100%.
He makes it all work. Yep.
Absolutely agree. Big picture, though, they need to stretch 5 without a doubt, or just leave Jalen Duren, because Duren to me, you're right, very physically imposing, very athletic. He just has games where he gets in such early foul trouble, and it just throws off his entire game.
He's a non-factor, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Efficient and a double-double machine, well, at least up until this year, and then Cade Cunningham started like crashing boards a little bit more. I think Bickerstaff Bickerstaff got crapped on just in Cleveland just because they couldn't get over the hump. Bickerstaff's done a great job here in Detroit. I have enjoyed the games I have watched of him in Detroit. I also just want to say how the heck Monty Williams did such a bad job with this roster. Granted, I understand the roster was completely different. They didn't have like Tobias Harris or even like Hardaway or Beasley, but still, it's kind of crazy how bad like this was last year compared to this year.
Yeah, it was. I almost think it was more. It was just a bad fit of like type of coach and roster, even than like Monty himself. You know what I mean? It's just like that was like he made more sense with like veteran laden team who just kind of like like knows kind of what they are and he can kind of manage that. That's where he's like real strength is. It's like this is just kind of it's just a strange, and they paid him so much. I mean, yeah, strange fit, but more than it was even like the bad job he did himself. It was just a weird situation, but yeah, clearly they found the right voice and improve the team. They improved the team. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, they like actually went out and got guys who are like professional basketball players, like and to like fill out the roster with like people that can complement Cade, and it's works.
I totally agree. I also think making the playoffs. I think it's very simple that they're going to make the playoffs this year. I mean, I predicted play-in, so the fact that they're like already slotted in the 6th seed, it feels like right now, is pretty impressive.
And how far ahead are they of the 7? It's pretty tight still. Isn't
I was
Miami, it's Miami and Orlando.
It's Miami, Orlando, and they're 2 games behind.
Okay. So they're
Orlando's 2 wins behind, and then Miami's 5 wins behind.
Okay, so they should be able to lock up that 6th spot. Theoretically could climb up to as high as 4th.
That's what I'm interested in. So we were texting about it today, like our like matchups that we'd want in the first round in both the West and the East. And the West we'll get to in a second. But the East, I was trying to think about it a little bit more. I think a Pistons Pacers matchup in the first round would be so much fun. And then give me Bucks Knicks, because like seeing Giannis in the Garden would be great, but also just like, hey, this has been like the rumored thing that everybody, like some people want, is Giannis to go play for the Knicks. Yeah. Like, can we see that just a little early? So I would be very, very interested in that.
And where it's at right now, so yeah, it's obviously Knicks Pistons. That'd be fun too, because those games will all be on. Like I fear a Pistons Pacers might get shunted to NBA TV. Whereas I want people to see Cade in prime time against the Knicks. Like that would be really cool. Like Cade in the Garden, that could be pretty fun. Kind of a coming out party nationally, for him at least. Obviously us hardcore people know how good he is and how good he's been all year. But that'd be kind of fun too. So but I think any of those matchups in that kind of 3 to 6 will be fun. I think there's no like ones that I would not look forward to.
Now the 1-2 series, there are some that would be that would be brutal. Like,
I said that in our group chat today. I said, please, I don't want another Celtics Heat series. Please.
You know what's crazy is the fact that the Sixers have fallen to 12th.
I know, it's incredible. Yeah, I love
it.
No more Heat Celtics, please.
You're telling me I've had it so many years in a row, and I'm done with it, dude. Let's move out west. Let's move to a team that made a big trade, and the biggest trade of the ever in NBA history. And then now they're just all their 3 centers are hurt. The Dallas Mavericks, who got their doors blown off by the Warriors yesterday. The Jimmy Butler-led Warriors. Did I say that right? Yeah, Jimmy Butler-led.
I thought the Warriors looked really good yesterday. I was like,
I'm shocked we're not talking about them today. Yeah, but no, I'll save them for another. We'll save them for another week. But let's talk about this big man-less Mavs team, shall we?
Yeah, I mean, I was torn on who the second team should be. I was like, look, man, I mean, we've talked Mavs obviously a ton with the Luka trade, but it's like, let's look at what this team actually is right now and where do they stand, and that's kind of like the kind of numbers we want to give you. So they're sitting at 31-27, 8th in the West. Yeah. Obviously, they lost yesterday to the Golden State Warriors. We're recording this on a Monday night. Offensive rating 7th in the NBA, pretty good. Defensive rating 14th, league average. That's decent. Play the 17th quickest pace in the league. That's a number I think that will climb post-Luka. I do think they can play slightly faster, and they probably will now that he's gone. I have a trivia question for you, though. Who has played the most games for this team this year? What player? He has played 5 more games than everybody else. Nobody has played every game, but this guy's played all but 2. He's played 5 more games than everybody else. What player do you think has played the most games for the Dallas Mavericks this year?
Can I ask, is it a guard?
It is.
All right, it's not Kyrie.
It is not Kyrie. Kyrie is 6th on that list with 46 games played.
Is it Dennis? Is it Spencer Dinwiddie?
It is Spencer Dinwiddie.
Oh my gosh.
Dinwiddie has played 56 games of their 58, and the next highest guy with 51 games played is Daniel Gafford, who obviously he's out now. So,
So yeah, he's not fault. I think he was probably.
yeah, that
He's
gap will just
probably.
continue
Yeah.
to grow. And that's kind of the first point I wanted to hit on. Watching that game yesterday against Golden State was how reliant they were on a Spencer Dinwiddie. And I put, who Dallas is missing? A really good shot creator for both himself and others. I was like, that's like a glaring hole in the middle of the Dallas Mavericks lineup. And I'm just like,
or just a big.
Yeah, it's like who could that have been? Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's like
Maybe this Slovenian guy you might have traded.
Where
away.
do you find players like that? Like how do you land a guy like that? So that it really was jarring though. It was like, man, there's so much on Kyrie's shoulders. And he had stretches where he played well in that game and has had some really good stretches this year. But I'm not sure him is the sole engine of an offense, because like even if those centers were out there yesterday, that helps their offense some. For sure AD. But that's not like, you're not generating, just way higher quality looks just because like you have one of the good centers out there at all times. Like I don't know. I'm just like, I left that game thinking, man, they need some shot creation and some playmaking badly. Like it is it's a glaring hole.
I totally agree. They started Dante Exum, and it felt like he was running so many of the sets yesterday that weren't Kyrie Irving
he had
led.
to play a ton. Yeah. And I actually like Exum, but he's a role player at this point. He's not like, hey, give him the ball and run a million pick and rolls with him,
Oh yeah. And it's also just, he is not, he's just getting back with his team. He's played 9 games now. So I don't know. They're just throwing him right into the fire so early. The other guy we should talk about too is Klay Thompson.
Yep.
Nowhere near a typical Klay Thompson year. He's averaging 13 a game, almost 14 a game for him on 41% shooting, and 40% from 3 too. But he does nothing else but just launch, and that's all he basically provides for this team. And it's sad to see that that's where he's just fallen into at this point, especially with how much they've like paved a way for him to try to be more. But it just doesn't. It just hasn't seemed like it's worked out.
Yeah, but I almost feel like he kind of like is who he thought he was at this point. It's like I don't know. I just didn't have super high expectations for that. So to see him be just like kind of like league average starting shooting guard, it's like that's kind of where he is now. I didn't necessarily expect a whole lot more. He's played a pretty decent amount. He hasn't missed that much time. He's played 50 games, so he's been in the lineup. He's okay defensively. He's not anywhere close to what he was, but we knew that. So I don't know. It's like he made more sense with Luka on the team. Like Klay made a ton of sense when he was like being fed by a masterful shot creator. It's like, but now that when he's having to do a lot of that, it's like, well, this now doesn't make as much sense. So I almost like feel bad for him. It's like I feel like if he'd have known that trade would have happened, he wouldn't have signed there in the offseason. So I don't know. It is what it is. I don't want to keep harping on the Luka trade, but it's like that has obviously it has tentacles that go over the course of the whole team for the whole season. So I don't know. And the AD thing is unfortunate. Look, their defense would look much better if he was playing. I thought defensively yesterday they were kind of a mess, and I actually thought Kyrie was really competing yesterday defensively, and he's been very.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He gets a ton of deflections, steals. Obviously, his hand-eye coordination is ridiculous. So I said, man, the team is just in rough shape without the centers.
Do you want this team in the playoffs?
Only if AD is like really ready to go. If not, I do not. No, I think they'll get smashed by whoever they play in the playoffs.
I totally agree with you, and but I think they still get smashed if AD is healthy. I think.
Yeah, it depends on the matchup. There's so much that could kind of change in that kind of 2 through 7, I guess still, but it kind of depends on the matchup. I think like AD is because he did look awesome in that game against Houston, his first game.
We were watching it on the way to Memphis. I'm well aware. It was a blast. I think a Memphis Dallas series would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. If there's somehow we could get to Houston, Dallas, that'd be interesting. But I don't know. Yeah. If they had to play Denver, no. No
Anthony Davis just can't escape Jokic.
I feel like Oklahoma City would kill them this year.
Oh yeah, I know. That's what I was mostly trying to say is I don't want to. That's why I don't want them to make it, just because I think it would just be brutal to watch.
Yeah,
they're just such a weird team. well, just weirdly constructed right now just because without a big, and they're playing Moses Brown like 10, 12 minutes whenever they want to just throw him out there.
Yeah. So my question, I do have a question for you.
Yes.
Are they more likely to get the 6th seed or fall to 10? What do you think is a more likely outcome for the Dallas Mavericks?
Fall to 10.
I think so too.
I think Golden State can beat them out. I think Minnesota, which is how good Minnesota's looked.
Minnesota should beat them out, yes.
Right. With how good Minnesota has looked without Randall, which I think if there's anything they should do this offseason, it's trade Randall and just bring back Naz Reid. If the report was true today that Naz Reid's going to like opt out of his contract. But the second that they can trade Randall, they should. But Timberwolves, to me, just feel like they are still a step ahead of where Dallas is. But yeah, I think Dallas is it should be closer to 10 than they should be 6.
Yeah, if you're looking for a bright spot, Mavs fans, I'm sorry to I know I'm wearing a Spurs hat, but I'm I really am I love the league and I want to talk about all these teams. Max Christie has been a bright spot. I do think they've got to keep. I mean, they do. They have a keeper there. They have like a rotation piece for a long time. Like if they like he's gonna be a good player. I like him a lot. And but that's I'm trying to throw him something positive because and Kyrie's been really good. So yeah,
Also, I learned 2 days ago that Max Christie isn't Doug Christie's son.
Yeah, he is not.
Okay, well, I've just been duped my entire time Max Christie's been in the league, so that was an unfortunately sad moment for me. Yeah. Let's and so okay, what do you think? We talked about it and we did when I threw out my tier list. Do you think they make it out of the first round?
Dallas?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Neither do I.
No.
Okay. Do you want to go to the final team?
Yeah, let's do it.
Memphis Grizzlies. Saw them live in Oklahoma City. Watched them yesterday play Cleveland. Played Cleveland close, too.
That was a fun game. I watched the highlights of that game. That was a fun game.
I continue to be confused by this team because I enjoy watching them so much, and yet there's times where I'm like, I don't know who the best player on this team is. I don't know which of the 3 guys between Jaren Jackson, John Morant, or Desmond Bane. Do you?
I think Jaren Jackson has been the best this year.
Sure. But I don't know, because think about it. Over the past 3 years, I think all 3 of those guys have been the best player over the past 3 years. With John Morant being out as much as he was last year, I think Desmond Bane was probably their best player last year.
Yeah.
I think 2 years ago, it was John Morant without a doubt. And then things just went sideways for the guy. And so I worry that there's a superiority complex or like issue that might come to fruition come playoff time. And I don't know who's going to be the one that shoots the ball. And maybe I'm wrong. And maybe they're all just like, hey, we're cool with any one of us shooting. And maybe that's the best part is like they have 3 guys who are like, I want the ball with the last shot. Maybe that's the best part about it all. But I think that's my confusion too, because I don't know if I trust their late game offense.
Yeah, I'm not sure they do themselves. I mean, that's kind of the thing. Their underlying numbers are really good. If you just want to give them to you right now, 37-20. They're second in the West. They are 6th in offensive rating, 7th in defensive rating, 4th in net rating. Their expected wins-loss record is 39-18, and they play the fastest pace of anyone in the league. They're the first in pace. I don't know. Like this is a very good team that like doesn't quite have like exact like kind of hierarchy and kind of playoff identity yet, but their underlying numbers are very good and that of a true contender. So in the top 10 in both offense and defense, that's excellent. Well coached, and they can withstand injuries. Triple J's been awesome, but I do think there's a little bit of like what exactly are we trying to do offensively? Down the stretch of these games. I know that's so like that seems so just like lazy analysis, but I actually think that's just the reality with this team. Like it's not really anymore that like over the course of a game, they kind of do a lot of things right. They take a lot, they play fast, take a lot of threes. Like, they play a good, like modern style of basketball, but they just kind of have this like little piece missing. And I don't know, like they're gonna have home court advantage in the first couple rounds of the playoffs. I mean, I think they're the most likely Western Conference team to end up in the 2 seed, as they are right now. But I don't know, something just seems just a hair off, and it kind of has the whole Ja era. Do you feel that way? Like, have you ever really thought that they're contenders in this era?
I don't know that they were a contender, but I always thought that they were gonna knock out a team that should not have been knocked out as early as they were. I had such high hopes that one year they beat the Warriors in the play, and they made the 8th seed, and then they beat the Jazz one game in the first round. I was like, holy crap, this is it. They were going to be the next 8 seed to do it, and they didn't.
Yeah.
They lost the next 4 games.
So that was 2022 or 2021, and then 2022 they won their first round series, that kind of crazy series against the Timberwolves, and then lost the Warriors when Ja got hurt in the end of the series. And in 2023 they got upset by the Lakers, in round 1, and obviously last year they had all the injuries and missed the playoffs. But
Lakers year though was like the year when things started going. Like at the end of the year, everything was kind of turning on its side.
Yeah.
And so I don't.
The Lakers were a bad matchup for them.
Absolutely. I think if they play the Lakers this year in the playoffs, like it's a little different. And like I don't think it's as easy of a win for the Lakers in this sense because they also have Dylan Brooks saying some stupid shit.
That didn't help.
I like Jalen Wells a lot. He's been a fun rookie to watch this year. And without a doubt, my favorite role player that's not a Celtic is Santi Aldama. I love this man so much. And
I was going to hit you with the trivia question. So there's 2 players who played every game for the Grizzlies. You said one, Jalen Wells. Who was the other? Played in all 57.
It's not Edie. It's not Jackson.
Jackson played in 55. He's next. Yeah.
I was going to say Jackson's up there. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah, it honestly has been a phenomenal season from Jaren Jackson. He's been excellent.
Yeah, no. I don't think let me get to him in a second.
Yeah.
Is it Scottie Pippen Jr.?
It is Scottie Pippen, yes.
Because I was going to say, Bane I know has missed. Yep. I know that a fair amount of their bench guys have missed. I've had Santi Aldama on my streamer for my fantasy team all year, and I love him so much. Scottie Pippen Jr., whenever Ja has missed, has been the perfect backup point guard because he's a very good defender. He had a triple-double earlier this year.
Yeah.
And so he is a very fun player whenever Ja's missed. And unlike the Knicks, very deep team.
Yes.
Like they can go 13 guys if they need to. And I think that has also been their issue in these playoffs. Like whenever Taylor Jenkins has been their coach. Taylor Jenkins to me gives Budenholzer vibes just because of just like I don't think he's learned what a playoff rotation is and how to limit like his teams to 9 or 8 guys.
Yeah, they've had 20 guys who've seen time this year, including the one game from Marvin Bagley. And yeah, I mean, it's Jake LaRavia, Jay Huff, like Luke Kennard, Zach Edey, like all these guys, like they can play. I mean, obviously
Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams.
Smart. Yeah, Gigi Jackson. I mean, it's they have like a bunch of dudes who are pretty good, high level NBA players. Brandon Clark, obviously, he's major part of the rotation. So it's a weird team. They're like a perfectly modern, like good NBA team, like almost like the 2013 Nuggets. It's like very similar. It's like, man, they have like a bunch of good players. Like, they win a ton of games. Like they got a home court advantage, but then they came up against that that first year of the Steph Clay playoff experience, and they lost. They're upset. So they do feel a little bit like a team like that, but I do like them. It's like just the matchup's going to be everything for them in the playoffs.
All right, so let's look at it. Let's look at it real quick here. So we're looking at my computer went all black. Oh, here we go. As of right now, it looks like we're going to have a 2022 repeat of the Grizzlies versus the Timberwolves, which would be a very fun series.
It would.
I think the Grizzlies win that.
I think so too. But that's close. I mean, that might be 7. I mean, that's going to be.
Oh, sure. It's going to be another gross one like it was a few years ago. I still remember watching, I think it was game 4 or 3. Oh, and we were going to the Fox and going to see Hamilton, and it got canceled like 10 seconds into the show because a rat bit through one of the electrical wires outside, and the entire theater lost power. I'm not kidding you. It was the craziest thing. So we went to Schlafly Brewery and watched the end of the second half of the game there, and I think that was a fine. It was a Jaren Jackson and Cat Ugly game. Whatever 5 of the 7 games that were so ugly between those two. I think they were both in foul trouble by the third quarter. Like both had 5 fouls going into the fourth quarter.
So I watched one of those games at a Perry's Pizza in San Antonio, and we got there and. I'm not sure. I don't think our table got bumped, but there was a big party for a family, and it was Andre Robertson, former Thunder. Thunder player. He's currently playing in France. He's kind of made a little bit of a career comeback.
Is he in France?
He is. He's playing for a team in France right now. So
Rachel
Yeah,
Demita going to France for him.
Asvel. Yeah. So he used to live next door to one of the girls I coach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, here in San Antonio. So yeah, he was there, and the whole family was like one of his siblings. He has a bunch of siblings. They've all played like D1 sports. And he has a sister at Duke right now, actually. But yeah, it was one of their birthdays, and so they kind of like had like half the restaurant to themselves. And I was like, oh wow, Roger Robertson's crazy. So yeah, he was at that same place. But I watched one of the Grizzlies and Timberwolves series. But yeah, that'd be a fun series. Who are the other? So like, what are the other likely? Who's in 6 right now?
So 6 is the Clippers.
Dallas is 8. So obviously that's
Dallas
a possibility as well. You know,
I think they beat Dallas.
I do too.
I think they beat the Clippers.
I do too.
So I think we're both saying that they just make it out of the first round.
Yeah, but Minnesota, I'd like to see where Minnesota's at the end of the regular season.
Or Golden State.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Gosh, Golden State would be tough.
That's a tough match.
Of course, it'd be against Memphis. It would also be against Jimmy, who said he didn't want to go to Memphis.
Yeah. Yeah, and then obviously so much is on Ja's Hill. I don't know. I don't know if that's like a market thing, or he's like, oh, that's not like big enough for me type. I mean, he never really gave a reason. It was just kind of like, I don't want to go there. I mean, they're a good team. They're ready made for him. I mean, he actually could help them.
He would have slotted in perfectly at that 3 spot.
Yeah,
that just didn't make sense to me. Okay, so we think they make it out of the first round, but it'd be tough against the Timberwolves or the Warriors.
Yeah, and I think second round, if it's Denver, I have Denver over them for sure.
I think if Denver has them. I think if somehow they play Houston, I think they beat Houston.
Houston get up to 3.
Well, I was just saying if. Oh shoot! I guess that's fair. Yeah, Houston's only 2 games back at the Nuggets. There's no way
that's possible. Yeah,
and the Lakers are right there too.
Yeah, I agree. But no, good team. Good team.
Good, very fun team to watch. Yeah, I think their peak is Western Conference Finals and losing probably to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. Talk to me about the range of emotions from your day on Saturday, and oh my gosh, how much driving you did.
Man, so crazy week. I mean, so last Monday we recorded, obviously. Kind of did a little all-star thing and talked about that, and I was saying, hey, the next day we got big playoff games, and so I do help both the girls and boys varsity teams at the school that I'm at. Kind of a unique situation. There's not many people that are able to do that, but they practice at different times. We always play at the same place. So just kind of a quick, like for any listeners who are wondering. So in Texas, the high school basketball teams are separated, private and public schools. In Missouri, they play in the same kind of leagues and things like that. So I had to kind of learn a whole new system when I was living up there coaching your brother. But in Texas, it's separate. The public schools get so big that it's not really possible to compete with some of the bigger public schools in Texas. And Texas is just such a massive state anyway. It's just hard. So the private schools compete individually in their divisions. It's 1 through 6A, and the 6A level is pretty small. There's only about 20 teams in it. And then you kind of there's more and more as you go down. And then kind of 2 and 3A, kind of the biggest divisions. My school's in 4A, so it's a decent size, public school,
okay.
Or private school. So yeah, our girls have made it to the Final Four 4 years in a row. And then we had, obviously we've won our district and, had a pretty good path in the playoffs. So last Tuesday they played a team that we were very confident against and we won by like 50. So, so that playoff game was easy. Their regional game on Saturday was a little bit tougher. We ended up winning by 20, played really well in the second and third quarters and kind of took it over. And then, so that game was in Round Rock, Texas, which is about 2-hour drive from San Antonio. So drove up to Round Rock. I actually rode with the team, had my girlfriend drive to the game. She watched the game, and then she drove me down to San Marcos, Texas, which is where Texas State is, for the boys game because it was at 4:00. So girls game at 2:00, boys game at 4:00. Different locations, different cities.
Jesus Christ.
I'm a part of both staffs, but the girls have less coaches. So if it's ever kind of like a tie, I stay with the girls until I can obviously go to the boys game. So I raced down there, got there at halftime. I watched it on a stream on my phone while my girlfriend was driving, and just kind of was like, man, got to get there as quick as possible. We hit back-to-back threes to end the second quarter to kind of push the lead up to 9. So I see the guys kind of heading to the locker room on the stream, and so I'm in the parking lot, turn my phone off, run in there, and obviously the whole team is in the locker room, and they knew I was going to come, but they didn't know when I was going to get there, obviously. So after a big win, I was kind of, like each coach kind of has a little thing they do. And so I always like yelled a big, like, vamos, like, just obviously my soccer background, all that stuff. And so, yeah, we get a big win.
Yeah.
Like, vamos, and so I opened the like locker room door and let out a big vamos. And they're like, oh, hey, like, it's just like,
oh my gosh.
So yeah, kind of dabbed a bunch of guys up. And then we proceeded to just have a huge third quarter, kind of took the game over and ended up winning by 24. So, so both teams are headed to Waco for the state Final Four. Girls with a very, very good chance to win it. The guys have a really tough semifinal, but I mean, anything can happen in a one-game situation, and we get through that, then I like our chances in the championship game. So girls play Thursday, Friday. Boys are Friday, Saturday. We're all going together in a charter bus on Wednesday night. Incredibly excited. It's gonna be a really fun week. I mean, this is kind of a 7-year journey at this school for me. It's kind of culminating with this really good group of seniors that we've had that I've been working with for 4 years now. So it's been incredibly fun. I mean, it's just so fun to kind of like be on this ride and get another week out of it. That was a big thing of it, is like they're all having so much fun. It's like let's max out these seasons. So girls.
Crazy that it's been 7 years.
What?
Crazy that it's been 7
years. Yeah, I left St. Louis 7 years ago. So I moved in May of 2018 back to San Antonio. So yeah, pretty wild. So right when Evan graduated, it was like right around the time Evan graduated that I moved. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. A lot has happened in 7 years, but this group has been a lot of fun. So I've enjoyed the ride.
Okay, so I can ask this question. I think we talked about it last year too. Is this guy's team talent-wise better than Evan's senior year team?
They don't have as much.
I was gonna say. Listen, I know you're still coaching them. So
I'll be honest with them. I mean, and they asked me something like that, like, are we the best team you ever coached? And I'm like, that team in St. Louis was pretty good. I was like, that team in St. Louis has more depth for sure. And their top end talent is probably just a tad higher. But this group is this close. I mean, yeah.
All right, so here I think this group might have the best player. Don't you think?
Possibly. Yeah.
I was going to say they might have the best player, but the next three are probably from, or at least the next two were probably from.
It's close. I think the separator is maybe kind of like 4 through 6.
That's fair.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where I'd probably lean that St. Louis group, but both groups, honestly, in a very similar way, like off the court, just like amazing, like just total like bond. I mean, that group was really interesting, the St. Louis one, because it was like we had those 3 seniors and Evan and the 2 Zachs, and then a bunch of younger guys on the team. Whereas this one, our main 4 guys are all seniors, and all 4 of them have been at this school since kindergarten. So it's really cool to see that. And like the team we're playing in, like it's a team from Houston that like just brought in a bunch of dudes, and like it's just like, all right,
recruited.
Like, and that's cool. I got it's fair enough, win however you want to win. But there definitely is like a little bit more like to it when it's like, hey, these are my buddies that like I've been playing with since we were 6. So it's
you think there's a little bit more of a chemistry thing for you guys at that point?
Yes. I mean, yeah, it's been so fun to kind of watch them grow and be a part of this team. So. It's obviously very unusual to have a coach that's a part of both staffs, and then obviously even more unusual to have them both go to the Final Four. There are a few other schools this year that have teams. There's a 6A team. The school that Julius Randle went to, actually, Prestonwood. They made both the girls and boys 6A semifinals. So and we'll stay and watch a bunch of those no matter what happens. So it's gonna be fun. It'll be a fun weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. Kind of going out on a high with these groups and. Hopefully coming back with a couple rings. So we'll see.
Yes, sir.
I would be the only one in the program that gets 2. So it might be kind of fun. But
I love it, my man. Well, and I saw, I think it was Wyatt who posted something on his story about like it was the hype videos that someone had created for the girls team. That was crazy. Is that like a San Antonio guy, or is that like
no? He's like a friend of the guys. His name's Matthew Garrison. He's gonna love that I gave him a shout on this, but he's a really good kid. He actually used to go to Geneva, and now he finished his high school career at Bernie High School. Really good kid. He does that stuff just like on the side, but he does a really good job. Those are really good. So he's done one for Wyatt specifically from last year.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
Yes, that one was really good. And so he did a hype video from the girls game on Saturday. Did a good job. So I'll shout out Matt Garrison Media. He's trying to make his way. He's going to A&M next year, so he wants to keep doing this. But so that was pretty cool. So it's been really fun to have like a kind of the community kind of rally around it too. It's like we've got a bunch of kids from the 2 big high schools in the town that come watch our games, and some of them come and help us practice sometimes. Guys that you met that were on my club team. Yep. So it's been really fun, man. So my focus has mainly been on that. It's like this is kind of a strange year where like really around February, one of the teams is done. The girls have obviously gone, a few years here, but I'm able to kind of like shift into NBA mode. It's like that's been on hold this year. It's just like they've got to get all the attention, and then I still have my little process of watching highlights and catching some games, but no,
it's been put on hold a little bit.
It's been put on hold a little bit this year. I think that's understandable. So.
I'm now curious about you're going to Waco. Like, will they see you process it a little bit more as like will you be watching games around them at all? Like, you think?
It depends on what we do. I think because like
you're gonna go to Chip and Joanna's at all?
No. A friend of mine used to work there actually, but it depends on what we do in the evenings. Like if we're gonna go try to watch other games, like because there's games up until like 8 p.m. Like other semifinals and championship games. So if we're doing that, obviously I won't be watching. But like a couple of our guys like are pretty into the NBA, so like they'll watch stuff, and I know they listen to our podcast, and so shout out to any of them that are listening. But yeah, that like we may kind of throw on stuff, and like we had a team meal the other day, and that's where we were watching that Cavs and Knicks game that Friday night. So yeah, I mean it'll be on if we want, but yeah, it is weird. It's like there's like different modes of watching. Yesterday obviously I knew we were talking about these teams, and so I'm watching more. It's like with an analyst brain, And when you're in a bigger group, you kind of just like watching is more entertainment, and maybe you may pick out a couple things, or like oh, I see this play that this guy made, and that might help him. So like hey, watch how Donovan Mitchell does that. You know what I mean? And you get to do a little bit of that, but for the most part, you're just watching it just to be entertained. So once the playoffs roll in, I get in full like analyst mode, and it's like I'm really trying to like lock in on this stuff, but. Yeah, I'm excited for that time, but this has been so fun. So I'm trying to embrace it and just live in the moment and really enjoy this last week with them.
Good, man. And as you should. Yeah. Missouri districts and like regionals basketball always happen like around my birthday, which is like a week from today. So I always I remember how it's literally just the same thing next like week starting for Missouri. Like everything starts back up for them. So I'm debating whether.
Go ahead.
I'm debating if I want to try to go see some games next week, anyways. So
you should. That was one thing I thought was so cool about St. Louis was how many people would go watch games that they had like no like affinity for. Like
Evan and I would do that, and Evan Neem and I would do that whenever I was a senior. And we would go watch like random like district games, and I would do that whenever I come home during college.
Yeah.
I'd go watch like Hal games because they were really good then, and the thing is, like, we live by like SLU High, and like they're all right, but like we just now live like so far like away from any like really good teams. I guess we go watch Chaminade. I guess that'd be fun. But like the teams I grew up with, like they're all like a 45, 50-minute drive away, and so plus our old stopping grounds. I don't think they won a game this year, so. I don't think they scored over 25 points this year, Adam.
That wasn't the case 7 years ago. We were pretty damn good. So
we were scoring 25 points in the first like 9 minutes of a game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, that was a very different group. Yeah, with some firepower. But yeah,
we weren't scoring 25 points in my first half of our like my junior year team. So I mean,
it was funny at the game actually on because this group that we have right now, our boys like they're pretty high octane, and we play pretty fast, and we shoot a bunch of threes. And I mean, Wyatt, our point guard is leading all of the private school division in 3-pointers made by like a long way. So so yeah, that would be pretty cool to kind of he'll have that record this year. But we score a lot. So it's like some of our alumni came to the game on Saturday, and I was talking to a couple of them afterwards, and guys who just graduated pretty recently, a couple of years ago, and they were like, man, like y'all play a pretty different style than when we played. And I was like, yeah. It's like, well, we had to win games like 40-35. That was the case. And that's not the case anymore. We're scoring 70, 75 pretty often. So it's been a lot of fun.
When you can keep up a high pace, and if you have enough guys to shoot that well, then you're doing all right.
Yes.
Yep. Plus, with the different size of a team, I feel like you have this year than you've had in past years. I feel like you needed to switch it up just a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm super excited for you. Will there be streams available for your boy?
There are.
Is it going to be free to me?
I think I can find codes that will actually work for them because it's a different stream. That one that's a different company. But yeah, I think I can find you a code. They are not, they're like, the state games are not cheap. They're like $8 a game. So,
I mean, it was 16 for the regional game.
Oh, that's ridiculous. Yeah. I'm glad you did that.
I needed a monthly subscription, Adam. I don't know what you want crazy. From me.
Yeah. That was a totally different. So that was at a neutral site. We don't even like know, like that was just like their own in-house one. Like we didn't get to use our own, because our own one is like, it's either free or I think it's like really cheap. So, yeah, that was kind of a weird situation because we have to play in a neutral site for regional games. So, these state ones, everyone can access them, but I do think you do have to pay a little bit. But I think I can get you a code. So
you'd be a beautiful human being for that. So go if you're in Texas, go watch go watch your boy coach on the sidelines for the Final
Yeah,
Four.
it'll be all in Waco.
Love it. Also, this is the first time we're posting a video pod on Spotify, Adam. I don't know if you knew we were doing this tonight, but we're doing it. As well as it will also be on YouTube. But thanks everyone for listening or watching. Go follow or subscribe to us on YouTube and go like the video, whatever. I just hate saying this out loud, but I feel like I have to. And then follow us on X, follow us on Instagram. And also go check out our website. We have a few things that are posted on there. Excited to hear you guys' thoughts on that. And then go Celtics, go Spurs. Which of the 4 teams do we choose though for tonight to say go here?
Hey, go Grizzlies. Why not?
Go Grizzlies. Yeah. Go Grizzlies. We've given them all a lot of love this year, but we will continue to give them the love. Have a great rest of your week, y'all.